All right, well, welcome to the accessibility differentiation with DocentEDU. I'm going to go over first of just the basics of how to use DocentEDU, and then we'll very quickly move into the different ways that you can use it for modifying not only just simply your lessons, but then the internet as a whole for your students to make it more accessible for a wide range of students. If you have any questions, go ahead and use the Q&A tool. That's going to show up over on the right-hand side, I believe. I'll be checking that. And then also, if you would actually like to join in and maybe show some examples of how you use DocentEDU for differentiation, or maybe you want to even bring up like an example of like for a specific website of how DocentEDU could be used on that, go ahead and post that. That'd be great to have you join. All right, so I'm going to start off by sharing my screen here. And like I said, we'll have I'll have the Q&A tool off to the side, so go ahead and just post on there if you've got any questions, and I will do my best to notice those off to the side. Okay, all right, so to get started, head over to docentedu.com and install it. So it's a browser extension for Firefox and Chrome, as well as iOS and Android apps. And at its core, DocentEDU is a close reading and formative assessment tool that's very flexible. It's designed by teachers. I taught high school science for 8 years. Another co-founder, Karen Hogan, is a middle school English teacher. And so this is kind of based off the years of teaching and creating online lessons and the struggles that we had. So DocentEDU is very flexible and can be used in a wide range of different ways. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to start off with a, let's go to NPR. And I'm going to show you how this works. We're going to move over to the topics, and let's just go with science because I'm a science teacher. But really, this is something that's going to work on almost any website and Google Docs. And we will just start with this one. So this is the text that you would want to use. The traditional way would be that maybe you would print this out, or you would just simply link to it. And scrolling through here, there's a fair amount of text that's on this page. Some students are going to really get stuck. So I'm going to load in the extension. And the first differentiation tool that we're going to have here is scaffolding and kind of chunking out the text. And so on the left-hand side, we have the DocentEDU tool. Oh, I'm going to delete the, I guess I'd made a Docent out here before. So I'm going to go ahead and, so we've got a toolbar on the left-hand side. And what I like to do is add in instructions. Students oftentimes want to be able to have something so that they can just, they want to be able to refer back to what those instructions were. Instead of having on a separate page like an LMS, I'm just going to add in a sticky note. So anywhere where you can add in a docent element, for these things, it highlights yellow. So I'm going to add it in right up here by the text there, and I'm going to put in instructions. So then we'd have instructions of like read through the text. And that's it right there. If you record a video, you can embed a video right there. Now, we do have experimental features to give you guys a little preview here. I'm not quite sure if this is going to work at the same time as doing a video recording here. So I'm going to, we'll see if this works. Okay, it did work. So now you can just give your instructions of, okay, students, what I would like you to do is read through this page. These are learning objectives, and I want you to answer the questions. Raise your hand if you get stuck on something. I'll come over and help you out, and use the highlighting tools to highlight the main points. And that's it. So now we've got our instructions that are up there. Oh, they replaced my instructions. And we've got that in. This is an experimental feature that we're adding right there. So you can like embed videos though with YouTube, and then kind of add those in. So we start off with having instructions that's up there at the beginning. This is great because now it's a very nice concrete thing that's in one spot. Students aren't getting lost. And I like to start off by then adding in questions that are kind of a little bit farther down. And as I'm adding this question, what I'm going to do is what I'm doing here is now I am chunking out this text. So instead of this idea of that students are going to have to read through this whole thing and remember what they read and then come back and answer it, I can ask a question right here of, from the above text, explain, and then whatever your question happens to be. And so the way DocentEDU works is that now students can answer the question right here within the box. It'll auto-save for them. And if you really want to break this down easier, you can turn this into a multiple choice question. So you as the teacher, if you start typing in this and what the response area is for students, if you type in as a teacher and hit enter, it turns into a multiple choice. Instead of a free response, now we've got multiple choice, and you collect which one is the correct answer. And this will then actually auto grade. And on the student side, it looks as where they have the three options, it randomizes the order. And then if they click an incorrect option, it tells them that no, that's not the right one. Their score goes down by a little bit, but then they have to keep going until they get the correct one, and then they'll lock it in. So this is a really good way of auto grading, as well as students to easily be able to get get instant feedback of, is their understanding correct? And if they're off, what is to help get them back on the right track. Now also up here, I know something that uses the word unsupervised. So perhaps students don't understand what that means. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that word, and I want to add in a note. So this is the definition I would want to give my students. I'm just going to enter that in and click OK. And so now any highlight that has a note added to it, students can click on that, and they'll now see that note that you've added in there for the students. Now, so these are two ways of where instantly we have given instructions up at the top, and you have either typed or audio, spoken. We've added in some little notes for our students as they're going through, as well as some questions who are chunking out the text. So now this is becoming much more of a personalized, guided experience for the students that a wide range of students are going to be benefiting from this. But one other thing can be of having some audio that goes along with it. Perhaps we want this whole thing to be read to them. Now, there's a couple of different options that you can do for this, and I'll go over some extensions, but what I'm going to go over first is that you can actually create your own audio recordings and embed those in. So what I'm going to go over to is Clip It. So it's just clyp.it. And what's great about sticky notes, I'm going to head back over to this tab, is when you're using sticky notes, so I'm actually going to delete this one. I'm going to add in a new one up here. And instead of recording that video, because that's one of our experimental ones, is I'm going to use this other tool called Clip It. And this just simply is a very simple to easy to use audio recording tool. So I'm going to click on Upload a Clip, Record. I'm now going to click Record and head back over to my text. And I'm now going to read it. All right, so students, this is going to be our lesson. The title is Most Nighttime Crashes with Teen Drivers Happen Before Midnight. Your instructions are to read through the text and answer the questions in order and highlight the main points as you go through. I'm starting with the text now, the first paragraph. Teens are driving unsupervised too late at night. And then you could go through, you record that audio. Now, depending on the text, it might take a bit of time, but kind of think about the end result of you are front loading the work for this lesson. And it's almost like you're flipping your instruction. Instead of you being up in front of the class or spending a lot of time with your students one-on-one in the entire class while other people wait, you are now kind of working a little bit more, you're putting all this work ahead of time, and now students are going to be benefiting so they can work through these lessons at their own pace. So you're blending it, they'll be, so that then they're benefiting from that, and that's going to free up your in-class time to work directly with students. This is like teacher flipping. I feel like that's a new term I'm going to coin here. All right, so going back to this, I'm going to add in a title. So let's say we just put in the title of this. If you sign up for Clip It, then it'll save all of your recordings with your account. So I'm just going to have that. Click Save. We can now listen to it. And what we're going to do to add this in now, right? So instead of linking out to this other thing, we're actually going to embed this. So I'm going to copy this embed widget. So this iframe code, and this works with just about any iframe that's out there. And I'm just going to paste that in, and there it is. So now students get to this page. They just click plus, or not plus. They click play. They're going to hear your narration as they go through. And I've done lessons. The really good thing is going through and either creating multiple clips. And so we can have down here of now we're going to add in another clip, and then pick up the audio recording here, or I'll create my whole docent, make my audio recording, pause when I get to a question, tell them, all right, I'm going to wait for 30 seconds and then continue reading so students can answer the question and then continue. So that's one of the different ways. Now there's other tools, since we're talking about text-to-speech, there's other tools that you can use. So if you go back to DocentEDU.com, under this resources tab, we have accessibility, and we have tools to embed, text sources, and accessibility. And this accessibility one is the one that's pretty exciting because some of our earliest users were special ed teachers. And basically this whole problem of that, it's like, hey, like the internet's got all this great content, but it's kind of inflexible for people that didn't create it. And so that's where we've got these complementary extensions. So you can embed different types of media like edpuzzles and thing links. So you can have different types of media in there, so it's not just the text. But these ones right here, AdBlock Plus is going to block ads on the pages. It can cause some problems on some sites, but it's going to be blocking out those ads that can be distractions for students. And then Speak It and Chromevox and Read and Write are all tools that students can then use to have it read the text to them. And it works great with DocentEDU. And these extensions are free. I think Read and Write is free. But Speak It and Chromevox are both free, and I've used them with students where they then install this extension in Chrome, and then they can then have it read that text to them. So check those out, and we've got links to those from our website under the resources and then accessibility. And so that's something of where instead of you reading it, you could then have those extensions automatically do it. That is kind of the computer voice for it, but it definitely does make your life a little bit faster, so you're not reading through the whole thing. All right, so we've got those. Now let's go back and let's start talking about questions. So as you're breaking this text down, right, because this is a very simple point and click thing now that we're doing, let's start talking about the different types of questions and ways that are going to be really helpful for this. And so Webb's depth of knowledge questions, as well as Bloom's taxonomy questions, are going to be really good ways of kind of adding these in and figure out how you want to scaffold your text. So looking at Bloom's, we've got then some of these very basic level 1 knowledge ones. So who is, recall, and so we can kind of go through these things. And then as you go through, then we've got comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So then it's like, do you agree with such and such, and explain why? And those are going to be some of those deeper questions. And so you can kind of do a mix of some of these more basic ones, lower level ones, and then move to the higher level ones as you're going through the text. Or you could have students then choose. So let's say if I'm going to go ahead and add in, we can do different like number of points for these questions. So let's say this one is going to be, this is going to be a very lower level. So I'm going to make this question worth 2 points. And let's see here. So this is going to be level 1. This is going to be level 2. So what is the main idea of this paragraph? At the level 1. And actually, we could just go ahead and add that in here. Well, we'll just leave that. And so that's going to be a different number of points. And students will see how many points that's worth. I'm going to add another question after that that's going to be worth more points. So let's see. Let's go with so do you agree explain why by citing 3 things from the text? And that one I'm going to go ahead and leave as 10 points. So we're kind of then adding in multiple different types of questions that are in here, or scaffolding it, and we can change the number of points that are in there. I've had other teachers of where they will actually then like have like choose which one. So we could add in a sticky note here of choose up here of like choose one answer. This is a really quick, easy way to be able to start scaffolding. Now, some of the other things that we have in here is then also a discussion tool. So I can add in this discussion tool. What it lets you do is it works similar to the question tool of where you put in your question, but now those student responses are going to be private to just that class, and students can see each other's responses in there. So as students are going through and kind of answering that, I would then add in a question. So what's kind of nice is that sometimes it's easier to be able to respond to something that someone else said versus, you know, kind of starting with your own. And so now we could have a respond, choose one of the so they're not responding in the whole discussion, but this is going to be just you as the teacher are going to be able to see that. So you can kind of like start breaking these things down to how you want to, and then kind of revisit some of the stuff as a class. One of the other tools, one of the other features that you have is that you can also view the student annotations. So as you're going through, you can then add in different media that's in here. But I'm going to go ahead and, how do I do that again? I'm going to switch to a different account. And show you a good example one. Bear with me here. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to switch to another one. Here we go. All right, so this is one that I did as a Google Doc. And what's different about this is I use this for close reading. And this is another really good thing of, this was actually my first close reading activity that I did with my students. And so it's all of like, it's a, the students that I worked with, it was an alternative learning center. So it was students that kind of struggled in a wide range of abilities and background knowledge. And it was pretty awesome they all told me of how they really enjoyed this close reading lesson versus a question and answer type thing. So the instructions here that I gave them is highlight the adaptation and benefit for each animal, and then highlight some text, and highlight and add one question that you have. And so what happens is that now, when students start highlighting text on a docent that you've assigned to them, you end up getting this new little icon in the upper left that lets you then select the students, and you can now see what they have actually highlighted on that text. And this is going to update in real time. And so this, what I am doing then is I'll have the DocentEDU app on my phone, and then you can walk around the room and then see what students are highlighting on there. And that's going to give you a really good way of being able to get an idea of what they see as important. So you can kind of step and help them out if they're highlighting too much or not enough, as well as generally where they are within the text as they're reading through it. And so with that one, I think for this one, I'm going to go ahead and so I'm going to go back to, so you can then like click and just go through the different students and see what their different ones are. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to not having any of them. And we're going to talk about just a few of the other tools that you can add in here that is going to help out some of the students. So we'll head back to my original one that I was sharing here. And there we go. All right, I'm going to go step back here to see if anybody's posting anything on there. No, not yet. Okay. So so some of the other tools that you can embed then to help kind of break some of the stuff down is then also, so we're going to add in sticky note. And so some of those other ones that have really helped with breaking the content down is Edpuzzle and ThingLink. Edpuzzle, and there's a couple of other tools that are like this. But what it lets you do is you get to add questions and break apart content, break apart the video. So it's kind of like DocentEDU for video. So it's just like we're doing with the text, we're going to be doing that with video. So I'm going to go ahead and just search on here. I'm just going to pick a random one here. This one have, oh, so this one they used it to crop it. So you can kind of see with Edpuzzle, what you can do is you can add in questions. So this little question mark means that they've added in questions, and little scissors means that people have used Edpuzzle to crop it. And let's head back to, we'll take a look at this one. So this one, questions have been added in there. And so you can easily create your own Edpuzzles, just like go with an existing YouTube video and add those in, or you can upload your own. But what I want to do is I'm going to click on this share and this embed code. So I'm going to go with we're going to go with medium. I'm going to copy that code, and then heading back over to here, I'm going to paste that in. And what's nice again about this is the student responses. So any response that they do for these questions won't sync up with DocentEDU. But a good way of using it is for these videos. There we go. Nope, I want to go back to. Thanks. All right, there we go. Is that this is a 3-minute, 40-second video. And so, I mean, 3 minutes kind of like starts to get to be a little bit after a while. And especially like any video that's gonna be like 10 minutes, something like that, that's a lot of time to be focusing on that. And this is great because this is going to break up that video into smaller, more digestible parts. And so I like to use Edpuzzle just simply for helping students understand the information that's in the video. And then any questions that I actually want to assess them on, any assessments that I actually want to take a look at, I will then post after that video. So now I'd have in here from the video, compare these different things. You can change the points. And you can also make that multiple choice thing then to be able to kind of help with getting more immediate feedback, more responses from the students. And then they get immediate feedback of like, okay, like good, I do understand it, or I don't, and I need some help from the teacher. So this is how you can use DocentEDU to embed your instructions up at the top, add in narration, some of the different extensions that you can use, notes that you can add in for the students. And again, students then, you can flip this around, have it be a close reading exercise so that students are then highlighting and adding their own thoughts into the text as they're reading through, and you can view that as the teacher. And then also being able to use different levels of questions that you want to embed in your text and chunk it out with those questions and the discussions and other types of media that you have. And you can do this on just about any website that's out there, including a Google Doc. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. So if you have any questions after this video, we'll have the recording of it posted on our YouTube channel. You can go ahead and post questions there. You can also send us a message. If you ever get stuck, there's a little star button on the toolbar. Go ahead and click on that and just send us any questions that you have. And so that is how you can use DocentEDU to make the internet more accessible for your students. Thank you.